Um, welcome to the second episode of Tiff Talks. I am your host, Tiffany Lewis. I am the founder and CEO of Pet and Home Care and Small Biz Consultancy. I'm so happy you're joining us today, either live or on the replay. I have a very informative and fun show planned for you, and I hope you stay tuned till the end. So I started this initiative, Tiff Talks, because I really found myself craving community. With everything going on in the world right now, I wanted to find a way to bring my community back together, find a way to connect people, find a way to spotlight small businesses, and have real conversations with real people. So that's why I started this, Tiff Talks. I'm so glad you're joining us today. If you want to be a guest on my show, you can go to tifftalkslive.com and complete my questionnaire. So as a parent and a mompreneur, I understand the struggles many parents are feeling these days. With most schools closed for an unknown amount of time, the kids are home from school, and a lot of parents are struggling. So I knew right now was the time for me to bring on my friend Greg. He is an amazing entrepreneur, business owner who has so much to share with you today. He even has some incredible freebies. So stay tuned to the end to claim your free hours of childcare and an awesome worksheet to help keep your kids busy and happy at home. So Greg, I'm going to tell you a little bit about him before I bring him on here. So Greg, his name, I'm going to get the pronunciation right. Greg Palavivatana.
Yep.
Yeah, I got it right. He is a franchisee of College Nannies Sitters. And they are an incredible company. It's actually nationwide. They are one of the largest employers of childcare workers in the country. And they happen to be the company that I use and trust with my 2-year-old Everett. He has an incredible team of sitters, and he has a very similar business model like my pet care business. He has a full team of sitters, but his sitters care for human babies, unlike mine, who care for fur babies. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our wonderful guest, Greg of College Nannies and Sitters. Please, Greg, say hello and welcome to the show.
Hi, Tiffany. Thank you very much for having us on.
This is great. Thanks so much, Greg. So today we're going to be discussing some topics that I think parents want to know about right now. How to safely hire a sitter during these COVID times, and if it's safe at all to trust someone into your home to care for your kids. Greg's going to explain that to us. He's also going to let us know about some benefits that many employees don't even know they have. It's called corporate backup childcare, and his company is actually the one who offers this service to many employers across the country. So I'm really excited for him to explain that to us. So let's get started, Greg. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your business, and why you're on the show today?
Sure. If you talked to me a few years ago and said, Greg, you're going to own a childcare company, I would say you were crazy. So I got into this because, of my son. I'm a story of how parents change their lives for their kids, right? So when my background is I was an executive at an entertainment company, and my son was diagnosed with some severe allergies, and so when that happened, I decided to take a sort of a sabbatical from work and sort of to take care of my son, and realized that I really just enjoyed working with kids, and I wanted to spend more time with my son. And so when I looked at things to do, I looked at different companies to purchase, and College Nannies and Sitters was one of the companies that I saw was a great fit for me, because it sort of had sort of the same things I was looking at doing. We are a nanny and sitter agency, and our big difference is we really want to create a great experience for parents. We want to make sure we create a safe environment for both families as well as our team members, right? And I do say team members because they're employees; they're not contractors, as you'll see with some other companies.
I love that, Greg. I love how your real life situation inspired you to help find that passion. And, hearing from an actual franchisee of a business, I think is so important. And I'm so glad you're on the show to tell us more about your business and your story, Greg. Thank you. And for those of you just now tuning in to Tiff Talks, I have Greg here from College Nannies and Sitters. And it looks like we actually have a lot of people tuning in right now. So if you're tuning in live, please give us some likes, give us some loves. Feel free to put in the comments below that you're watching. If you have any questions for Greg or myself, please throw them in the box. I see already we have some awesome people tuning in. We have Jill Furman. That's my auntie. Hey, Jill. We got my sister. Hey, Mackenzie. Thanks for tuning in, guys. If you're watching, please tune in. And Greg is going to be giving away 3 free hours of childcare coming up. So stay tuned. All right. So let's get back to some more questions, Greg.
Sure.
With everything going on right now, I know a lot of people are probably hesitant about hiring a sitter. Has your business been impacted with the virus?
We've definitely been impacted. I think people we've heard a lot of different concerns of, like, are people safe to come in? Do I want to introduce something? Do I want to introduce a stranger into our house? Right. And so we as a company have been taking some preventative measures to help with that. Right. So one of the things that we try and do is we monitor all our caregivers, our team members. Right. We check in with them weekly, make sure, hey, are they following our safety protocols? Right. Making sure they're not going out when they're not supposed to. They're not like they're making sure they have face masks. We provide safety masks as well as hand sanitizer to all of our team members. Like, do they have any concerns with anyone else in their household that may have issues? Are they making sure they're only going out when absolutely necessary? The other things that we've taken precautions is making sure we're limiting the number of families that caregivers are able to see, and even introducing where we're actually minimizing the cost to have sort of a dedicated sitter for the time being if you made a certain amount of hours. And then the other thing we also do is when we ever do have follow-up, we ever do provide care, we actually follow up with the families afterwards to make sure that family members weren't asymptomatic when we were providing care. So just taking a lot of precautionary measures to make sure that our families are staying safe as well as our team members.
That's really smart. So you're taking those extra steps to make sure that your sitters are healthy, and you're also following up with those families to make sure nothing's changed in their situation. So absolutely, I like that. And I feel safe using your service, and I hope other parents do too, because I know with schools being closed, I'm seeing in all these mom groups, people are having a really hard time homeschooling their kids, trying to work and run their business or work for their employer. And without the usual options available, it's hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And the first thing I always tell parents is these are really stressful times, right? Like, we're now, as parents, as working parents, we've now been asked to do 3 different roles. And before, everything was very segmented, right? So we're being the employee. We are, like, even myself, we're an employee because I'm an employee to all my customers. You're being a parent, and as well as sometimes being a teacher as well. And most of the times, 1, maybe 2 of those roles, because usually we go to work and we're the employee. We come home with the parent, and someone else is usually the teacher. Now everything is just squished and combined together, and it's stressful. And one of the first things I always tell parents, I tell my friends, is give yourself a break. It's okay. Like, you were not designed to have these 3 roles. That's why we actually have time allotted for all these different roles. Right. So don't stress out about it. Give yourself a break. And everyone's scenario is a little different. Mm-hmm. Right. So, yeah. So that's the first thing I always tell people. Like, don't worry about it. Focus on what is best for yourself, best for your family, right? Because I see the differences in, like, hey, what's the right amount of screen time? What are we doing? We definitely had some of those tips as well to sort of help out. I think we posted out, like, creating a sort of a schedule, which is really helpful for just making sure that that you sort of have some basic structure for the kids, because remember, they're also stressed out as well.
Well, those are some great suggestions you have there. And that reminds me that you do have that worksheet that you want to give out to our viewers today. So if you are tuning in either live or on the replay, comment below that you want that worksheet, and Greg will message it to you. Something free. I'm guessing you can just print it out at home, Greg, and the kids can get right to work.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great little, it's a COVID-19 time capsule. We sort of did it. It's been a lot of fun. If anything, it's been interesting there are different worksheets that are even self-reflecting for yourselves to sort of write and capture for for when a few years down the road, and just to think about. There's also, like I said, little fun activities that you're able to do that you can either do together, or that like I said, you can do some of your own, or even let your child sort of do it, and just sort of remember, because these are definitely very interesting times.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I really appreciate you being on our show today on Tiff Talks and having that time capsule program available for the kids to work on. Tell us some other activities that some families can try to, stay busy, stay sane, and keep the kids engaging and learning while they're at home.
Yeah. And so one of the things is, like, everyone is so focused on education. I think one of the things that people have to remember is that education comes in all different forms, right? So I look at, one of the things that we all got to do is we got to eat lunch, we got to cook, and my son is almost 4 at this point, and we have him help out in the kitchen. He's helping make Thai papaya salad, right? We asked him to cut up some vegetables. Have him part of that. I have him understand, like, with baking, like making some ingredients. I know that there's great games that do this, but it may cause a mess sometimes. But I fundamentally believe in letting kids explore and play around with things, so they get to learn, like, this is an egg. What happens when you break it up? Like, what is that yolk? And like, you can break it out. I guarantee you my kitchen and my house becomes very messy very quickly. But it stirs that curiosity in the child. And so everything doesn't have to be like the ABCs. Everything could be a little bit about what you can learn. I think one of the things I did a video on was we made a catapult with my son, and it was great because, one, we had to. This is, I think, the 4th or 5th iteration of trying to build it, because the first time we built something, it was like, okay, this isn't working. Okay, what do we need to do? And he's like, we need structure, and and then like, we don't have enough elasticity, because we learned about that, and we got to play with like they tried putting a ping pong ball on, and we tried putting like a rock on, or like different materials, and it was a great way of problem solving that he just got to think about, and it's sort of interesting to see how the kids' brains act and react to that. One of the fun activities we also had was building a fort. And it's amazing. I hadn't done one in a long time, honestly. And we actually decided to build a fort, and it was interesting to see my son say, we need a window, and his thought process of, how do I build a window out of pillows? Right? And it became a place where he was like, I want to eat in here. Can we read in here? And it was just come with activity. I have a lot of activities on my Facebook page. I post things that I do. We have other activities and arts and crafts as well. So I encourage you to go check out our Facebook page. But yeah, no, there's a lot of activities that I think the important thing is there are a lot of things you can do overall in order to keep the kids occupied.
Right. I love those ideas, and I love the idea of getting the kids in the kitchen. Start teaching them about the food. Like, even my kid, he's only 2, but he understands a lot. And when you mentioned the part about making a mess, I laugh because Everett loves to clean. Like, you give him a towel, like, you need to clean this up, and he'll like, yeah, clean. And he'll get to work. So that can be a great way to have another built-in activity right there. The food prep, the making, the cleaning.
And the cleanup. Absolutely, right? And it becomes sort of a game for them. It becomes like they get to do something grown up. And I think we, in this world where a lot of parents are very protective, and myself included, I'm not from it. Kids are actually a lot smarter and more capable than we give them credit for sometimes. And this has been a great exercise during this time period to see that, at least for my son.
Absolutely. So I'm curious, being a client of yours and a parent, some of those activities you just mentioned, are those some of the things that your sitters do? I'm assuming they're not cooking with the kids, or do they?
So they can't cook with the kids. Like, we've actually had team members who've gone to families, and the parents might have recipe available to them. Some people will just have, they have pre-made food, but it's still an exercise where, hey, you can create snack time fun with them. When I look at hiring caregivers, my process is I really look for people who want to be engaged, who really want to do it, who love that. And you can really get, I go through that sort of my interview process is really designed around getting to know the person and seeing how they like to interact, how they like to even interact with the child and even interact with myself. So those are, our team members also are on our distribution list, where they should know, like, these are sort of the activities they do. And they're all about trying to engage with kids. Like, that is what our team members love to do. They're not the ones who are going to sit there and just watch TV.
Yeah, they're not babysitters. They're actually engaging. And your name, College Nannies, is everyone you hire a college student or was in college?
So it varies. So we have team members who have already we have team members who've already graduated from college, who are either maybe on their masters or have already finished or pursuing their masters or trying to get into their master's program. We have a lot of people who are in college as well, and we have a lot of team members who have just decided to take a break, and this is what they're doing in between while they figure out their scenario. So it's sort of all between. College Nannies Tutors really came back from our founder who started the company when he was in college and was really became a nanny because he was a hockey player, and he just ended up playing hockey with some kids in the park, and that's how his company was born.
That's incredible. How many locations are there across the country? Do you know?
There's a little over 200 plus. Wow. Across the U.S. Which is really also nice too, because one of the things I'll add is once you sign up with one of the locations, if you ever decide to travel, you can also use our services from branch to branch. So we've actually serviced families from other parts of the U.S. when they come visit. And I know some of my families when they visited other places like Georgia, New York, or Seattle, that they've also been able to receive care there as well. So because we've been able to care for families whether they're at someone's house or whether they are at a hotel.
I have to remember that because we usually often travel with our son. We go to Florida to visit our family in Florida, Texas, Maryland, Cape Cod. So I have to remember that because next time it'll be nice to have a date night or an afternoon without the kid to get some alone time. So I have to remember that next time. And you mentioned your Facebook. So I want to go ahead, put it here on the screen, guys. Follow Greg. He shares so many great tips and resources. You can follow him on Facebook at College Nannies Woodland Hill, or just Woodland Hills, or on Instagram, College Nannies _Woodland Hills. And I think this would be a great transition to go ahead. You were mentioning your team, and I got to say, I've had 3 of your team members. All of them I have loved, especially CNST. If you're watching, hey girl, we miss you. We'll get you on the book soon. But Greg put together a quick little slideshow of his team, and I thought it'd be a great chance to show off his incredible employees to you now. So please enjoy this quick show. So great. Thanks for putting that together for us, Greg.
Yeah, no worries. I always like to show that you were actually a whole team. I think the first person on there was Sammy. I actually have a dedicated coordinator who actually can help do all the communication. So when you're getting with our service, it's not just a single person. It's sort of having your own little army of caregivers, if you will.
Exactly. It's similar to my team. We have a team of sitters ready to go to be deployed where they're needed. And I love that you have that similar model. That's actually what attracted me to hire your business. I didn't want to just hire a random babysitter or nanny that we could use as needed. I wanted someone that had a team of nannies, so I knew there was always someone that I could trust available if it was short notice or if my usual nanny was unavailable. And the other reason I picked you guys, because just like my team, all of your sitters are employees. And I love that number one, that you're taking care of your people by hiring them as an employee, and that there's that company to fall back on. If there was some kind of, God forbid, problem or issue, you have a business that is there to support you. So absolutely. I think it's great that you hire them as employees. And I also love that they're all women. Are all of your nannies, is it typical? I know for my business, mostly women like to be customers.
It is typical. We've had a few nannies in the past as well. Right. And I personally also provided care as well, because one of the things I felt important as an owner was to sort of make sure I experience what my team members feel, right? Because how do I best make sure that I'm providing the best experience even for my team members, if I haven't gone through that as well, right? How does it feel like to watch kids for 8 to 10 hours at a time, right?
A long day.
And what have you experienced? like in terms of like what are some of the setbacks, like or challenges. I want to make sure that I got those experiences as well, so that I can translate that and like, okay, how do I better serve my team members, right? And so that's one of the reasons why people ask me all the time is, why would they decide to work for you? Because they can go get it on their own. And it's because we're able to offer them support. We're able to offer them a lot of things as employees and help them, especially like even times like this. Like I said, we provided face masks for all of our team members. We provide that sanitizers, right? We provide them, hey, if there's any challenges, like, one of the examples we have is we actually don't, like we typically provide childcare for when kids are sick, like I have to stay at home from care. Right now, because of the current situation, we are not doing that and just offering some of those protections, right? And if they accidentally show up to a family, whether the family history is not, we still pay the caregiver, right? So we just make sure that there are a lot of protections and care for our team members. And I look at this as a family business, and I treat all my team members as family members.
That's fantastic. And that's how it should be. So if you're just joining us right now on Tiff Talks, I have Greg, the owner of College Nannies and Sitters, and we are talking about ways to keep your kids happy and busy at home and discussing his service, which is a very reliable childcare service that is actually part of a nationwide franchise. So from anywhere in the country that you're watching, you can look up his business, College Nannies and Sitters. I'll actually put on the website now. You can go here and you can find a location near you, and I highly recommend it. This isn't a commercial, but I wanted to share people that I know and trust with you so that you have an opportunity to hire someone for your kids right now, because I know it's hard to do everything, and parents shouldn't be expected to be on 24 hours a day when there are resources out there for help. Speaking of resources, I thought this would be a great time to bring up some of these comments we're getting. This is actually my sister-in-law, Erica, who has 2 kids, and she wants that worksheet. So that's fantastic. Greg
Awesome.
will send that to you. We parents do need every bit of help we can get. She had another great comment. She loves these out-of-the-box ideas that aren't just traditional education, like cooking and building various projects. So thanks, Erica, for that feedback. Really appreciate it. Once again, here's his website if you want to find a location near you. But if you actually want to reach Greg directly, I will share with you now his direct email, woodlandhillsca@collegenannies.com. I'm sure he's open to answering any questions from parents out there too, Greg. What do you say?
Absolutely.
Good. Awesome. There's also his phone number, 818-465-4288. So Greg, tell us a little bit about your franchise. It works in the sense that you have a certain area you cover. So tell us the areas that you currently cover in California.
Absolutely. So my branch actually covers everywhere from Encino to Granada Hills, all the way out to the Simi Valley area and Thousand Oaks. There's sort of a wide area that we can sort of cover. So I'd look at it as a big sort of a rectangle, if you will.
Okay, great. So you're in my part of the valley, obviously. And for those of you watching in Maryland, I know a lot of my viewers are in Maryland. There is a location in Maryland as well, in Bethesda. So keep that in mind. And if you don't know who I am, I own Pet and Home Care. It is a business I started back in 1999 caring for pets in Potomac, Maryland. And we have grown to expand to offer services in most of Montgomery County and Frederick County and even part of Washington, D.C. And I wanted to bring up that, with these changing times and the situation we're all dealing with, I wanted to offer our audience some pointers and tips to help their business survive these rough waters. So I just wanted to point out my company, Pet and Home Care. Usually we're walking dogs, but with most people home, they don't need us to walk their dogs. But what they do need is grocery shopping. So we launched a grocery shopping service with delivery to help those customers get what they need and still keep our team busy. So Greg, have you pivoted at all? Are there ways that you've adjusted to still bring in revenue during this time? I know you're doing your best to keep your team safe, but is there anything else that you found in business that has helped you during this very strange time?
So for us, I think our biggest pivot has just really been towards offering more that dedicated care. I think I mentioned earlier. So before, our sitters are more like are ad hoc. Whoever's you're available, you can sort of try and pick from, and it's sort of the best scenario. We have a great lineup of team members. What we're trying to do now is really, it's almost like having a dedicated nanny. It's what we call the dedicated sitter. For at least for the time being, we can try and sort of dedicate that a team member if you have a certain minimum amount of hours per week.
I love that. So if you're a working mom, you could pretty much reserve a dedicated sitter that isn't going into other homes so that you know they're not being contaminated somewhere else.
Exactly, right. It's just like it's a safety measure that we're doing, and so, like I said, it's sort of a different product that or a different service, if you think, if you will. Instead of having to pay like the sort of the high upfront cost, like which would be sort of the nanny placement fee, we're actually just sort of including that. We're actually sort of essentially waiving that and having it for at least for the time being.
Okay. Which actually reminds me about your big promotion you're giving away. I'll go ahead and share it here now. If you sign up with Greg's company and you live in his service area, we're hoping to get some other locations to offer this as well. But if you sign up for his service, he is going to give you 3 free hours of childcare. There are some enrollment fees, but with those fees, you get an incredible app. I got to say, that was the other reason I really loved your service is you can schedule a sitter right there from the app. You can see if your sitter's available. So I love that technology that you're using. You can also read a bio on them, see their picture. So it's a really helpful tool. Yep. So Greg, I really appreciate you giving this away. So if you want to claim this offer, all you have to do is comment that you want to claim those 3 free hours of childcare, and Greg will message you to help get you set up. So thanks for doing that for our show today, Greg. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And I think that what's a good time to bring up another really interesting thing that you told me, which I didn't even know existed, is this corporate child backup care. Can you tell us a little bit about how that works and how to find out if your company is offering the service?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the newer benefits that are being offered at bigger companies is actually in-home childcare when you need it. So we actually partner with a company called Bright Horizons Backup Care. They're one of the largest daycare centers for companies. But there are actually other companies as well that also do it. So if you work for a big company, like any of the technology companies, a lot of the financial institutions, a lot of the entertainment companies, they all provide this service. It's one of the first things I ask parents when they inquire about our services is, who do you guys work for, if you don't mind? And I can let them know, saying, hey, you actually may qualify for 10 days of care a year that's completely paid for by the company.
Wow.
And with these times, some of the companies have increased that benefit as well. Like I think some of the consulting firms have actually increased it to where it's like, I think they doubled some of that amount of time. It works a little differently from company to company. Some people offer it based on hours. Some people base it off of number of days. So I always ask people to check with their HR company, with their HR group, or and ask, hey, do we have child backup care or Bright Horizons backup care? That's what we can actually help service. And even some parents, I actually talked to a lot of parents who are like, oh, you know what? I actually remember, I understand. I actually remember having that, but I didn't know what that was about. And it's always a one opportunity for me, like, hey, come talk to me about it. And it's also nice knowing that who the person behind that company is as well, who's doing that service, right? Because then it becomes a little bit of, oh, who's going to be the best? Because part of our service is getting to know the customer as well, understanding your needs, and who's going to try and be a good fit, right? You can't always guarantee it's going to be a perfect fit, but we always try and make it say, hey, how do we make sure we have the best fit possible? And if it's not, like, hey, let's make sure that the parents are aware of that as well.
So let me make sure I understand. So if you work for an employer that offers that service, and I guess if your kid is homesick and can't go to normal daycare, the employer says, hey, don't take off work today. We have backup childcare that will come to your house and care for your sick child. I'm sure, not COVID related sick, but during a normal time, just during normal time, typical cold or something.
We typically service when when kids are sick. A lot of times it's actually it's during the holidays, right? When the kids are home during spring break, winter break, and the parents still have to go to work, or they're like Martin Luther King Day, or some of the other holidays as well. Or sometimes it's for some, if they had already recovered from a cold, but they're still not allowed to be back yet, or something. There's a shift in schedule for some schools, right? My son's in preschool, and it seems like they're always taking some sort of day off every now and then. And it's sort of like, okay, it's good to sort of have that backup care available. It's like, okay, hey, I need someone to take care of a child, and it can be least disruptive to my work day or work schedule, right? Even whether I'm working from home, at least I know someone's taking care of my child's needs.
That's a good point. So even if the kid's not homesick, but often daycares are closed for certain holidays where your business may not be closed. So you can even use you guys then for that.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Right. So like, like Christmas was like right before Christmas was the big one, or right afterwards, like the weekend of Thanksgiving was really popular dates, right? So yeah, so that we're used for all those sort of different dates, right? Even like I said, spring break. So sometimes every kids doesn't align up, or people's parents' projects like have deadlines during those time frames, and so they still need to go to work.
Absolutely. Well, it's really great that you guys have that solution for parents. And I really hope for those of you just tuning in that you're going to be checking out Greg's company, College Nannies and Sitters, nationwide franchise offering reliable childcare that you can trust. I use them for my 2-year-old Everett, and the sitters are so great. So I think it's just a fantastic thing when you can mesh together your passions with business and offer a service that actually helps people.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Greg. All right, now I got some rapid fire questions for you,
Okay.
Greg.
Go for it.
All right. What is your favorite activity to play with your kid?
I love swimming. I love doing anything that we build and get to hear my son like use different vocabulary, right? So I'm an engineer by background, and I love to hear my son talk about like stabilization, structure, geometry, thrusters, right? Like we talk about like building, and it's interesting to see where his mind goes and like the vocabulary he just has picked up, because I use a lot of like scientific words, if you will, and he picks up on it and it's like, oh, do you know what that means? Like, do you know what elasticity means? And it's interesting to see like him try and explain it, or like camouflage, or so that's what I love. I love trying to get my son to explore these just different things that are going on, like building and structures. And like I said, that it's probably because of my background, but that's what I love doing with my son more than anything.
Smart. All right. What's your favorite sport to play together?
Sports. So it's been swimming. So my son is almost 4, and he can swim across our pool about 40 feet pretty easily now.
That
Especially, yeah. We've been having him swim lessons since he's been about 3 months. He's learned how to float before he was 2, and then he could swim across 20 feet about when he was about 2.5, almost 3, and then now he's to the point where he can actually swim. He's a pretty good swimmer. Like he can swim maybe 3 to 4 hours at a time.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah. All right, what's your favorite food to cook and eat together?
So I am not the greatest cook. My wife is the chef of the family, and we are a multi-generational household. So my mother my parents live with me as well. And so they're the ones who get to cook and work with stuff. So with all the stuff I have is very simple. It's like, let's spread jam.
Hey, whatever works.
Let's cut some vegetables. Let's pour lots of honey on your croissant, because that's what he loves. So yeah, so those are the things that I end up cooking with my son. But my wife and my mother are much better than I am with it.
Great. Well, hey, you mentioned your family. Why don't you go ahead, give them a quick shout out. Let them know that we're thinking of them, and if they're watching too, please comment.
Yeah. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. Hi, Vicky. And I'm not sure if he may be watching with my wife. But yeah, it's absolutely, they are my heart. They are my passion in my heart. They mean everything to me. I get teary-eyed whenever I talk about them, because they all mean so much to me. I live, like I said, I live in a multi-generational household. Someone once mentioned to me that was very admirable, and I was like, it's so normal, because I love having and watching my father, my mother get to play with my son all the time. It's great. That's why grandparents are grand. You're
so lucky. Both of our parents live across the country, so poor Everett doesn't get to see his grandparents very often, and it's heartbreaking, and it's really hard being far from your family, especially during these times where we were supposed to have gone to Florida to visit our family. We're supposed to go to Maryland for my brother's graduation, and with all these restrictions, it just shows like how important family is. And I think you are so blessed to have a lot of your family in one house together. So very lucky that you have your parents there with you now.
Absolutely.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, it's a total blessing. And, we're very fortunate. Like even my wife's family is relatively close. While we're not seeing them now, we still get on a Zoom or a conference chat together at least once a week, just to make sure we're all connected outside of just phoning each other every day.
That's what you got to do. You got to just stay connected. And that's why I started this Tiff Talks. I wanted to bring our community together, have a chance to have these real conversations with like-minded people, or even people that have different opinions of me than me. But I think this is just so much fun. And if you want to be on my show, I have the ticker right there at the bottom. Go to tifftalkslive.com. I have a short questionnaire, and I would love to interview you on my show. What do you think, Greg? Has this been fun?
This was awesome, and even like everything from beginning to end, and helping with the whole thing. I really enjoyed this time with you.
Thank you. This has been great. And look, I got my sister-in-law. Family is everything. That is so true, Erica. We were supposed to be with her last month, and I'm so sad that we missed out on this trip, but we're going to make sure that as soon as we're able to get back together, we will be there. We will be there. And she also thought it was a great solution for that backup childcare. So thanks for that feedback, Erica. If there's anyone else tuning in that has a quick question or comment, please let us know below. You can also give us some likes and loves. Let us know that you're here and watching. And as we start wrapping up the show, Greg, I want to know, is there anything else that we didn't cover that you think is important to tell parents these days about either, how to handle the situation, or just any tips or tricks that you feel are important?
I think like as schools, as I think businesses begin to open up, right? It's still unclear whether schools are also going to open up, or summer camp is going to be open up. I think looking at whether you're looking at childcare options, I always tell people, just make sure you're taking same precautionary measures, right? Think about, what have the people been up to? Make sure you do the background screening checks that we sort of follow, and make sure that when you interview people for the person they are. As I've looked at my team members and who I hire, my litmus test is would I trust that person to watch my son? And it's never steered me wrong, because my team members have watched my son. But when you interview people, interview them for who they are, and try and find out, when I look for people, it's sort of a numbers game. We interview during peak times. We interview anywhere between 25 to 50 people a week.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, right. So that's how we were able to find sort of team members. And I sort of look at, when you interview, the interview styling is all about trying to build trust. One of the things the first question I ask all my team members is, what can I do for you? Right. And it's about trying to learn about what that team member's needs are, and to make sure, is this role a right fit? Because it's not about just hiring someone to watch your kids, because anyone can do that. A lot of people can do that. But this is about trying to find a certain personality, trying to find a certain person who's going to love watching your kids, who are going to love doing this, who are going to be committed to this. And it's, I tell people, if someone really mentions money, they need something, that's the, I end up not hiring that person right off the bat, just because I want someone who is going to be motivated by the love of caring for kids, right? And who has that passion. I mean, we go through technical questions as well, right? Can they change a diaper? Do they have certain things? And we provide all that training. But as parents are looking for care this summer, whether it's us or someone else, those, I want to make sure hire based on based on that person, right? Look at, try and dig down and deep into what are their motivations, who are they, and that's how you sort of get the best care.
I'm glad that you take those steps and to find the right people, and it shows. Like I said, I've loved every sitter you've sent my way, and I cannot wait for a good date night to schedule them again, or a day that I know that I just need that extra help, because with both parents working from home right now, things can get a little crazy. So
absolutely.
I'm so glad I found you and have you to rely on. So for those of you that don't know me, I am Tiffany Lewis. I am the founder and CEO of Small Biz Consultancy and Pet and Home Care. I would love your follows on my different social platforms. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, you name it, at Small Biz Consultancy or Pet and Home Care. My new consultancy service I started was to help small businesses get their businesses in tip-top shape. I'm using the tools and tips I've used over the last 21 years with my pet and home care business to help other entrepreneurs. And that's part of the other reason I started this show, was to help get some messaging out there. And I just want to throw out a couple quick tips for those of you who have small businesses. Now is the time to pivot. If you're thinking about offering another service that people need right now, do it. Don't delay. Get started. Like my pet care business, we're now offering grocery shopping and delivering. Thank you, Maya. Maya has taken the lead on that and is providing an exceptional service to our customers, and people are loving it. It's a great way to generate more revenue and tips for your team. So consider adding some additional services if your business is one that can stay open right now. Also, with these times, it's a great opportunity to go ahead and update your website. If you have downtime, now's your chance. Improve the online presence, work on some email marketing, your social media strategy. Use this time wisely and find ways to improve your business and be ready for that grand reopening when the doors open back up. And essential businesses like pet care and childcare in many places are allowed to stay open. So Greg, thank you for doing everything you can to keep your team safe and keeping your family safe. I commend you for that. And if you want to be on my show, send me a DM, comment below. And I am just so happy to have you all watching. And Greg, you got a final goodbye for us?
Thank you very much for having us on. I really had a blast doing this. It was great talking to you, and thank you for letting me share my story.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for everyone tuning in to Tiff Talks. Today I had Greg Palavivatana from College Tutors and Nannies, and I really hope to see you next week on another Tiff Talk. So until then, stay safe, have a fantastic weekend, and share us some fun videos and pictures what you're doing this weekend with your kids. All right, everyone. Bye. Hope you had a good time. Thank you. See you soon.
Bye.